The fullest houses often make the quietest people disappear first. The bell rings. Shoes stack by the wall. Coats land over chairs. Ice hits glass in the living room. Someone starts a second conversation before the first one has finished. And instead of sitting down, you are suddenly very focused on a pan in the sink. You wipe a counter that is already clean. You match lids in a drawer no one asked you to open. You step outside to check something and stay there a little too long. From the outside, it looks rude, weird, a little cold, like you invited people in and then immediately started avoiding them. But that is not what is happening. You are not trying to leave the people. You are trying to leave the pressure of being reachable by all of them at once. That is the difference nobody sees. They see a host hiding in chores. They do not see a nervous system trying to narrow the world before it floods. They think you are making distance because you do not care. In reality, the distance is often the only thing keeping you regulated enough to stay present at all. Because the problem is not always the guests. Sometimes you genuinely like every person there. Sometimes these are your people. Sometimes you were excited before they arrived. And then the house fills up. The volume rises by 2 degrees. 3 voices start crossing each other. Somebody calls your name from behind you while another person is already waiting for your answer. There is music under the talking. Dishes clink. A chair drags. A question lands in your face before the last one has even left your ears. And your whole body starts looking for an exit that does not look like an exit. So you make one. You rinse the same glass twice. You fold laundry that could wait until morning. You take the trash out and breathe by the bins. You stand in the bathroom for 1 extra minute with the fan on. You become extremely useful because usefulness is the most acceptable form of withdrawal. That is why chores work so well. A chore gives you distance without confession. It creates a small social barrier nobody argues with. If you say, "I'm overloaded and I need 10 minutes with no voices near me," people may stare. They may take it personally. They may ask what is wrong. But if you say nothing and start cleaning, everyone understands the role instantly. The helpful one, the busy one, the host, the productive one. So they leave you alone just enough for your body to come down. And sometimes those 2 minutes by the sink feel better than the whole party. That immediate relief tells the truth, because this is not just a preference for alone time in some soft, harmless way. It is often a much sharper experience than that. It is the moment your attention gets stretched in too many directions at once. It is realizing you are still nodding, still smiling, still standing there, but you have stopped fully processing what anyone is saying. It is feeling your face stay engaged while the rest of you starts to shut down. It is that heavy sensation behind the eyes, that tightness in the jaw, that sudden drop in patience, that strange wave of fatigue that makes one simple question feel like one demand too many. And when that happens, work feels safer than conversation. A task has edges, a room full of people does not. A towel can be folded, a pan can be scrubbed, a counter can be wiped in straight lines. But a crowded room has no edges. It keeps reaching. More eye contact, more responding, more tracking tone, more noticing who feels awkward, more sensing who expects warmth from you. Even if no one is asking for much, the room still asks for access. Access to your attention, your expression, your energy, your availability, your nervous system. That is why the urge to disappear can feel so sudden. 1 minute you are fine. The next minute you are looking for a reason to leave the center of the house without having to explain yourself. And if this has been your pattern for a long time, it probably did not begin with guests. The full house just exposes it. Because people who vanish into chores are often not careless about other people. They are often the opposite. They are often the ones who notice everything. The ones who track the emotional weather in the room before anyone says a word. The ones who learned to stay useful, stay easy, stay composed, stay needed. The ones who got used to reading the room early, adjusting themselves quickly, absorbing tension before it spilled over. Somewhere along the way, usefulness stopped being just a skill and became a shield. Doing became safer than being directly available. So, when the house gets full, your body does not simply register guests. It registers contact. Noise, unpredictability, social demand, too many signals with no pause between them. And if you were ever the one who kept the peace, kept the mood stable, kept yourself agreeable even when you were tired, then a crowded house can wake that whole role back up without warning. You are not just in the room, you are monitoring the room, and monitoring is exhausting. That is what people miss when they call this coldness. From the outside, they see distance. Inside, it feels like drain. From the outside, they see avoidance. Inside, it feels like recovery. From the outside, they see silence. Inside, your system is trying not to flood. And this is where the pattern goes deeper than people think. You are not always walking away because you want less connection. Sometimes you are walking away because connection has stopped feeling voluntary. The house is full. Everyone is near. The energy is constant. Your body can no longer tell the difference between simple company and full access. So it reaches for the nearest acceptable barrier. A dish towel, a cabinet door, a closet, a porch step, anything with edges. Anything that gives your system one lane instead of 10. And the hardest part is that you usually do not explain this while it is happening. You just disappear in ways that still look functional. That is what makes the pattern so easy to misunderstand. People do not hear, "I'm overloaded." They just see you vanish into the kitchen again. They do not know that your body is trying to reduce the number of voices, faces, and expectations pressing into you all at once. They only know you keep leaving the room. So they call it rude, or strange, or distant, or hard to approach. Meanwhile, what is actually happening is much more ordinary and much more painful. You are trying to stay regulated in a space that keeps asking for more from you than you can comfortably give. The noise becomes pressure. The pressure becomes fatigue. The fatigue becomes urgency. You cannot ask the whole room to get quieter. You cannot explain your nervous system to every guest. So you pick up a sponge. You build a border with your hands. That is the real thing. You do not disappear because you hate people. You disappear because too much contact for too long starts to feel invasive, even when nobody means harm. You are not escaping love. You are escaping saturation. And that is why the relief of being alone afterward feels so intense. The second the door closes, you can breathe differently. Your face can drop. Your shoulders can let go. Nobody needs anything from your expression anymore. Nobody is pulling on your attention. The room stops entering you. And the quiet does not feel empty. It feels medicinal. But this pattern has a cost. Because the more often you hide inside chores, the less clearly anyone can see your real limit. They do not learn your need. They only learn your disappearance. They do not hear, "I need 10 quiet minutes and then I'll come back." They just watch you orbit the edges of your own house until the night is over. And over time, recovery can start to look exactly like withdrawal, even to you. That is where the line matters. A boundary says, "I need space, but I am still here." A wall says, "I can only feel safe if I do not have to be reached at all." Recovery helps you return. Avoidance helps you hide. Being alone gives you room. Being lonely is what happens when the room becomes the only place you feel safe. So, no, this pattern is not simple coldness. It makes sense. It protects something real. It is your system trying to keep itself from spilling over in a setting that asks for too much continuous access. But it is not automatically healthy just because it is understandable. If every need for distance has to be disguised as a task, then the people closest to you never get the chance to know the truth of your limit. And the truth is simpler than the performance. Sometimes the person washing dishes while everyone else is laughing in the next room is not avoiding connection. They are trying to make connection bearable. What looks like rudeness is often overload with good manners.